Hello and welcome to Short and Sweet Revision. This is our second revision video and we hope you like the first one.
Today's video we're going to discuss the short story by Elizabeth Baines called Compass and Torch.
Okay, and today we are going to revise the key features of the story, and then we're going to leave you again with a P.E.E paragraph, so a question to answer using a P.E.E paragraph.
Okay, the plot summary. Camping trip. A father is taking his son on a camping trip. His young son, he obviously hasn't seen him for quite a while, collects him from his mother's house, and off they go. We've put a quotation in here.
Yeah, I've put this one in here for the plot summary because although it is about camping trip between a father and son, I personally feel it's this desperate sort of need for this boy and father to connect together. And this is one of the key quotes that you meet kind of right at the start. The boy was intent, watching Dad, watching what Dad is, drinking it in, the essence of dadness. He's really keen on this camping trip.
He is.
To get to know him. But as the story moves along, we realise there's more to it than a simple father and son trip.
There is indeed, but going back to that kind of father and son point, there is actually something further on in the story where the boy says about his warrior dad, about, you know, and this is what young boys think, I think, or used to, that their father is this hero figure.
Yeah, it's that drinking daddy in there.
That's right.
Okay, so I'm going to just hit you with a few facts about Elizabeth Baines. So she has a lot of experience she was a teacher, she's done acting, and she's written quite a few short stories. But this one, it comes from a collection. And one of the interesting things is that she really focuses her stories about writing, about relationships. She's got here, we've got these children without power, adults trying to get it, a boy caught between divorced parents. Okay, so it's all these really complex relationships. This is what she focuses on.
It is, and it's relevant today. It's a universal thing, isn't it? I mean, there are children in this situation, you know, so it is relevant for a lot of students in school these days as well.
Yeah, but we'll you know, have a look through this information at leisure, but we'll keep going. Okay, so setting. You need to be thinking about the time, place and situation of the setting of the story. And here we have, obviously, a boy and his father on a camping trip set out in the moors.
And the setting, it does kind of shift between the past and the present, and there are some flashbacks when he's thinking about home or referring to mum. And they're going on this camping trip out on the moors, and there's some about the preparation for the trip and, of course, what they should be taking with them.
Yeah, so we've got these two key places, sorry, let's speak properly. Two key places, we've got out on the moors, the camping trip, and back at home. And one of the real key things that you need to think about is the description that really sets the tone and the mood. So the setting is kind of key to setting that mood.
And it is, and the father on the trip, and I expect we'll come into this a bit more later, the father, when he's unpacked the car and he sets off on his walk across the moors to get where he's going, doesn't notice anything at all that's going on around him, including the horses, which we'll get to a bit later. But he doesn't take any notice of it. So the setting could be, the setting's lost, I suppose, isn't it, on them?
That's actually really interesting because Baines uses lots of sort of similes and that's really descriptive. So for the reader, we're going, oh wow, this setting. Whereas the boy and the father, they don't
even notice it. That's right.
So yeah, so I've put a couple of quotes for you there. So clouds sweep like opening curtains, really vivid description. Yet they notice nothing.
I thought with that one, it's like the start of The Simpsons, a bit where the Simpsons clouds part there.
But it's very strong, powerful stuff. But they don't notice it.
They don't notice it.
Okay, themes, Miss, I'll hand you over to you.
Okay, themes presented by the writer, like we said in the last one, often implied rather than written. So you do actually have to look between the lines. Don't forget, for that C grade, you need to show insight. You don't just show that you understand and you can write about what's on the page. You need to write about what is often implied. So we have the contrast, the love-hate relationship between the adults, the separation, the desperation that the young boy feels, the hope, and it's all about their relationships between these different people, between the boy, and his father, the father and the mother, the new boyfriend the mother has, the relationship the boy has with him, and the relationship that he has, and remember, of course, he's the only one named, the relationship he has with them all. And of course, the main theme here is about growing up. It's what kids go through.
Yeah, and obviously they've set it around this divorce that they've gone through, and it's that real sort of how to move past that, how have they all evolved their relationship, okay, through that, and I think
yes, to move on.
Yeah, how to move on. But do look at the themes, it's quite important. Okay, so point of view, this means the point of view of the person or the voice telling the story. And we have, to begin with, we have a third person limited. Now this means that the reader experiences the story through the senses and thoughts of just one character. Now this is interesting because this does happen, however, we switch between three key characters. We go from the boy to the father and to the mother. So we do see it, okay, almost through their eyes.
But again, that's the perspective, isn't it? So it's does it give you that all-round, you know, whose side are we on, or whose perspective do we believe? That's what the reader has to decide with a story.
But I think it's
like
quite
this.
important they've used this switching between characters, because I think it shows the feelings and thoughts of what's happening to the individual, and we can see how the boy and the dad, they both desperately want to get to know each other.
Yeah.
But they kind of don't show each other.
Don't know how
but
to
we
do it.
see it, but they don't, and it's that's that really sort of tough bit. Yeah.
And here's the third person omniscient narrator, and this narrator can see everybody's point of view, and they play no part in it, but they know the characters' thoughts, they know how the characters feel, and they can give facts. So this is very strange to have a mix of them.
It is. An example of this would be when they're out on the moors and you see these grand sweeping views all around, okay, and it kind of, again, like we were saying, it backs up the point that we see everything that's around, yet they don't.
Yes, that's like the godlike image of things. Yeah.
Good, okay. And then we're moving on to symbolism and interpretation. Now this story, I don't know what you think, Miss, out of most of them, I think has some of the real strongest types of like symbolism and meaning behind it.
It does. I mean, if you look at the connotations of the word torch, light and showing light and following light.
I think hope, I think to me that the thought of light and torch and hope.
Yes.
And I think that's reflected in the boy and he's desperate, you know, to be with his father, that sort of hope.
Yeah, and the compass is interesting because on line 90, the man actually, it says, he groans, I didn't bring a compass, which means I cannot show the way. And it's kind of that, I didn't bring a compass, and he's saddened by it, he groans. And the compass is really important, not just to have one to show the way on the moors, but in life as well, this kind of metaphorical
the direction.
compass, this direction.
But and again, they've forgotten their compass. Could that, you know, show about their relationship? They have lost their way. They've lost their direction.
Yes, it does. It does.
And you can see they don't know how to move on from that.
No.
Yeah.
No.
The horse. You're an expert
Now,
on the horse here.
The horse. We've been. A few of my students have been wondering what the purpose of this, the bit about the horse is on page 16. I'll read a little bit of it. Okay. The horse sighs. She wheels around, facing the open moor. She lifts her tail, spreads her hind legs, and provides a close-up display. Now, here it is, which could easily fascinate an 8-year-old boy. Now, this 8-year-old boy should be fascinated by this. Yeah. You're out on the moors, and suddenly a horse, you know, kind of, how can I put this politely, opens... I'm going to have to say it. Yeah, opens and flexes her bright red arse and lets out a steaming stream.
Yeah.
Now, any young kid with their dad should stop at this point and fall about laughing.
Yeah.
They should say, look at that, and this should be a real bonding moment. And it doesn't, because they don't take any notice of it. I mean, that's what I think anyway, and the clue could easily fascinate. It should.
But even when you're reading the story, I don't know, with my class, I've been reading along, and then suddenly I'll say, arse, and they're all like, what?
Oh,
What's going on?
I know, miss, what are you saying?
Yeah.
What?
So
Yes.
even when we are reading it, you do think, oh, that's so
Yes,
funny. Yeah,
it is,
But
it
they
is.
Again, it just highlights they don't see it.
They don't see it. They're missing. They are missing so much together on this trip. Through, I don't know whether they're holding back or well, like you said, they don't know how to overcome this distance that's come between them.
And then we talked about the setting and linking into that the weather. And I don't know what you think about this, but I'm thinking about the dark. They talk about the dark clouds, the black lake. They talk about crossing a barrier somewhere when they're walking through to get to the campsite. I think these are all really suggestive of the mood, the tone, what's going on, what's happening with these two people.
I think the word wilderness is used as well, and they seem to be lost in the wilderness, don't they?
Yeah, and I've put colour there because at the beginning, you know how we talk about a bleached end of some of the grass is bruised.
Yeah.
Can all these colours perhaps represent again their damaged relationship?
Yes, I'm sure they do. Yeah. I'm sure they do.
Yeah. So again, there's lots of things you could read into and think about the interpretation there.
I think if you look at all these and think about them and look at the different interpretations, you'll be, you'll find out.
And things will crop up all the time.
Yeah, they will.
Okay. Moving on from that, we need to talk about the characters. And I know we're going on a bit longer than 10 minutes, but I think we will because there's quite a lot here.
Okay, but we'll try and keep it below the 15.
Okay, so characterisation, as we've talked about before, you need to think about physical description, dialogue, action, direction, so comment from the author. There's a lot we could talk about these characters, actually.
There is. I'm just going to pick up on the dialogue. Yeah. Particularly on page 15 of your anthology. Well, actually, it starts towards the bottom of page 14. When the father speaks, from about line 46, the author uses a lot of exclamation marks after what he says. Great! Exclamation mark. Come on! Exclamation mark. Oh yes. And his sentences or his dialogue is very short, very precise, followed by these exclamation marks. And it might be worth you going through and counting them and having a look and seeing, if you think they are important, then you must comment on the use of punctuation. And there is on line 143, the son, the boy actually starts to echo his father. She has him saying, right, he echoes and sets off too. So he's becoming like that. She's starting to give him the same exclamation marks as the father. And the way they interact with each other, the way they talk to each other, the way that Jim, the only character who's named, speaks to them, and the boy tries not to like him too much, but he talks about him in a nice way, using quite positive language.
And, I've put that there, the contrast between Dad and Jim. Yeah. My reason for that is because when we talk about Jim and he's handling the torch, this is quite a key thing. When Jim's handling the torch, he does it gently. He looks attentive at this torch. Whereas when the dad sees the torch, he's very I think it's quite dismissive almost. Like,
yes,
yes. So, and there's that real sort of contrast there between Jim, who's a constant, obviously, in the boy's life, and the dad, and and what the boy wants almost is a contrast between. Yeah. So again,
I would think, miss, that this is true of a lot of home life, a lot of family situations. It must be. We see it in school, don't we?
Oh, definitely.
And it must be, I would think. And I think that's why students are able to relate to this story.
That sort of theme. Okay. Moving on from that, so structure, again, as I always say, you need to look at the structure. Does it follow that Story Mountain? So has it got a traditional structure, and does it relate to meaning? So let's have a look again at Story Mountain. Now, the interesting thing about Compass and Torch is that it changes, obviously the setting, the time frame, it uses this series of flashbacks. It doesn't follow, a straightforward pattern. It's jumping around, I like to say, all over the place.
Yeah. And it's to add, stories some stories have to have the flashbacks as a way of exposing what happens, and it makes it more exciting, and it builds it up as well.
But again, I think these flashbacks, it does reveal more about what the backstory to it.
Yes, it does.
Again, it shows that contrast between, the love and the hate of the father and the mother, and it emphasises this sort of desperate feel. I am conscious we're going to run out of time.
I know. Well, we're going to finish.
So again, look at your structure. But again, we're going to finish on a question for you here. So P.E Practice. Do you think the mum's right? So have a read of this quote here. And again, we will leave you with the grade criteria. Got 10 seconds, miss.
10 seconds left, is that all we've
But
got?
we hope that's been helpful.
Yeah, we've had some really good responses for the last one, so thank you for listening,
Okay.
and we'll do another one.
Yeah,
Yes.
look out for it soon. Thanks.
Bye-bye.